Hello everyone, I just wanted to make a short video paying tribute to Little Richard, who was born as Richard Wayne Penniman. He passed away today, Saturday, May the 9th, at the age of 87. So he had a long life. And I'm a fan of Little Richard. You know, I'm not a big completist collector. I have some 45s and I have some record albums. I'd like to show you the few record albums that I do have right now in this video. But before I do, I want to say I definitely acknowledge Little Richard as one of the greats of rock and roll, one of the pioneers, and also soul and funk later on too. You know, I love all the big acts and artists from the 50s. And as far as single artists, you know, of course, Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, Buddy Holly, Fats Domino, Bill Haley, you know, the whole crew. And but something about Little Richard really had the heart and the soul of you know, the attitude of rock and roll. And you know, I don't think that a lot of these guys got enough acclaim in their day. You know, nothing against Elvis. I'm a big Elvis fan. I have a huge record collection, and of course I do videos on Elvis. But you know, Elvis didn't really write his songs for the most part, whereas Little Richard wrote more songs and also played the piano, you know, got more physically involved in that regard, you know, performance wise. So that kind of like is something I take notice of when I'm thinking of these other people. The Beatles, of course, were heavily influenced by people like Elvis Presley. And when Elvis first came on the scene, Elvis Presley was like it to them. That was their guru. Elvis had arrived, you know. They thought that was the beginning. But they also were heavily influenced by people like Buddy Holly and Little Richard. John Lennon in particular, Elvis was his guy, but, you know, I remember there was a time when it was said that when Little Richard started coming around with Long Tall Sally, John was really kind of at a crossroads, had to really decide who was going to be his guy, you know, for a while. So a lot of competition with Elvis for John. Of course, Paul McCartney copied Little Richard's style. I mean, the way he screams and the way he does the famous woo that you hear in She Loves You and other songs was borrowed from Little Richard. So anyway, without further ado, let me show you some of the albums that I have by Little Richard. The first one I want to show is Here's Little Richard on Specialty. And I got this one recently. This was a good buy because, you know, these albums are very expensive if you can get them in really good condition. I mean, or mint condition. This one has some, as you can see, seam split. And so, but I was happy just to have what I believe is the original on this. The record itself is pretty thick, and it's on the specialty label. You can see that there. Really nice, and it plays so well. I mean, there's hardly anything wrong with this record at all. No scuffs or anything. And even when there are some minor scuffs on some of these old records, they were made to last in the 50s, you know. Next up, I want to show you the album I have, just called Little Richard. Another one. I'm not sure if this is original or not. You people can tell me. I'll show you in a minute. Look at that. There he is in action. Love it. Absolute pioneer. And this record cover suffers the same fate as the one I just showed, you know, some seam splits. You know, before anybody says, well, all you have to do is add a little glue, or you have to, you know, put cardboard or do whatever it is. All I really do when it comes to seam splits is very basic. I just take them, put them in the clear sleeve, and once it's inside the clear sleeve, it stays together. And that, as far as I'm concerned, that's as good as glued. You know, I don't go crazy, but let me show you the record. This is also specialty. It's on this label there. Also in pretty good shape, this record. And right now I only have 3 albums by Little Richard. I'll show you the third one. This one is called His Biggest Hits. Specialty also. And again, yeah, it must be a thing with Little Richard. I mean, the guy is so raw and primitive, he actually sears the cardboard right off the jacket. I mean, you know, so this record seems a lot thicker, heavier, but We got another specialty. Alrighty. So I just wanted to take some time to acknowledge the passing of Richard. Uh, Thanks for the music. Thanks for the rock and roll. Thanks for starting off so much. And just being a real solid force in the biz. Thank you for watching, everybody.